Before Marvel, before Fast and Furious, before CGI took over everything. The Fall Guy was Hollywood's love letter to the unsung heroes who actually did the dangerous stuff. 5 seasons, 112 episodes, and a cast that lived almost as wildly off-screen as on it. Let's get into it. Number 1, we have Lee Majors as Colt Seavers. At 42 years old when the show kicked off in 1981, Lee Majors was already a certified television icon. The $6 Million Man had made sure of that. As Colt Seavers, the charming stuntman turned bounty hunter, across all 112 episodes, he brought a laid-back coolness that made the role feel effortless. Now, 86 years old in 2026, his love life has generated almost as many headlines as his career. He married Kathy Robinson in 1961, then famously wed Farrah Fawcett in 1973, one of the most high-profile Hollywood couples of their era, before their split in 1982 became tabloid gold. A later marriage to Karen Velez in 1988 also ended in divorce. Since 2002, he has been married to Faith Noel Cross, and by all accounts that chapter has brought him the settled, quiet happiness the earlier years rarely allowed. Number 2, we have Markie Post as Terri Michaels. Terri Michaels was the sharp, capable bail bondswoman who kept Colt in check across 65 episodes between 1982 and 1985, and Markie Post played her with a warmth and wit that made her instantly one of the show's most beloved figures. She was 31 years old when she joined the cast, already building what would become one of the most genuinely liked reputations in the entire industry. In her personal life, Anya's brief early marriage to college sweetheart Stephen Knox ended in 1972, but in 1982, the same year she joined the show, she married actor and writer Michael A. Ross. The two built a life together that lasted 39 years and produced 2 daughters, a love story as steady and warm as anything she ever played on screen. Markie Post passed away on August 7, 2021, at the age of 70, leaving behind a legacy that the word beloved barely covers. Number 3, we have Douglas Barr as Howie Munson, the comedic heart of the entire show. Howie Munson was Colt's loyal, accident-prone partner across all 112 episodes, and Douglas Barr played every stumble and one-liner with perfect timing. He was 32 years old when production began, and now 76 years old in 2026, his life after Hollywood took one of the most unexpected turns of anyone in this cast. He walked away from acting and reinvented himself entirely as a winemaker, founding Hollywood and wine cellars in Napa Valley and building a genuinely respected name in that world. In his personal life, he married Claire Kirkconnell in 1984, right in the middle of the show's run, and the two are still together today, raising a son and building a life that swapped studio lots for vineyards in the most satisfying way possible. Number 4, we have Joanne Pflug as Samantha Big Jack. She came in as the original female lead for the show's first season, the tough, sharp Samantha Jack across 22 episodes, and Joanne Pflug brought serious credentials to the role. She had already made a significant mark in Hollywood with her work on the original MASH film back in 1970. She was 41 years old when The Fall Guy began. And today, in 2026, she is 85 years old. Her love life has its own Hollywood chapter. She was married to high-profile game show host Chuck Woolery from 1972 to 1980, a pairing that put 2 recognizable faces under the same roof and produced 1 daughter together. After that marriage ended, she later married Charles Stuck Young in 1988, and the two have remained together ever since. A quieter, more private happiness built well away from the television cameras she once commanded. Number 5. We have Terri Kaiser as various recurring roles. Most people who hear Terri Kaiser's name immediately picture a dead man in a blazer being dragged around a beach house. And that's entirely fair, because his turn in Weekend at Bernie's became one of the most iconic comedic performances of the entire 1980s. But before that, he was a recurring face across 6 episodes of The Fall Guy between 1981 and 1986, bringing the same effortless character work that made him a go-to presence for producers throughout that decade. He was 42 years old during his first appearance on the show, and now sits at 86 years old in 2026. In his personal life, he was married to Sylvie Marmiche from 1987 to 2004, and the two had 1 daughter together before eventually divorcing, a chapter he has kept largely to himself in the years since. Number 6. We have Judith Chapman as Kay Faulkner. 4 episodes across 1981 and 1983 was all Judith Chapman needed to make Kay Faulkner memorable. The kind of guest role that sticks because the performer brings more to it than the script strictly requires. She was 29 years old when she first appeared on the show, and already developing the dramatic instincts that would eventually make her a genuine institution in daytime television. Now 74 years old in 2026, she has built one of the most enduring careers in American soap opera history across The Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives. Decades of work that put her early primetime appearances firmly in the category of before she was huge. In her personal life, she was married to Terri from 1984 to 1986, a marriage that overlapped with her later Fall Guy appearances and has kept her private life carefully guarded ever since. Number 7. We have Doug McClure as Sheriff Dixon. The name Doug McClure might ring a bell for a very specific reason. He was the real-life inspiration for Troy McClure, the washed-up actor memorably voiced by Phil Hartman on The Simpsons. McClure reportedly found that tribute genuinely amusing. He was 46 years old when he appeared across 5 episodes of The Fall Guy, a weathered, effortlessly charismatic presence who had been a fixture of American television since the 1960s. His personal life was as eventful as his career. 5 marriages in total, including a brief marriage to actress Barbara Luna, before settling with Diane J. Erickson in 1982, who remained by his side until the end. Doug McClure passed away on February 5, 1995, from lung cancer, at just 59 years old, far too soon for someone whose easy charm had lit up screens for 3 decades. Number 8, we have Nedra Volz as Pearl Sperling. When Nedra Volz joined The Fall Guy for 5 episodes in 1985 and 1986, she was already 73 years old, making her one of the oldest working performers on American primetime television at the time. And she didn't just show up and collect a paycheck. She performed many of her own stunts on a show built entirely around stunt work, which tells you everything about the kind of performer she was. She had married songwriter Lester Rode early in life before that marriage ended, then found lasting love with Orrin Volz in 1944, a partnership that held for over 4 decades until his death in 1987. Nedra Volz passed away on January 20, 2003, at the remarkable age of 94. A woman who was doing her own stunts in her 70s and lived long enough to see an entirely new generation of television take over the world she helped build. Number 9. We have Sid Haig as Mr. Fick. Well, long before Rob Zombie turned him into one of horror cinema's most terrifying icons with Captain Spaulding and House of 1,000 Corpses, Sid Haig was quietly appearing across decades of American television, including 4 episodes of The Fall Guy between 1981 and 1985. He was 42 years old during his first appearance on the show, a towering physical presence who made even minor roles feel genuinely threatening. The contrast between his on-screen menace and his real-life reputation couldn't have been sharper. Those who worked with him consistently described a gentle, warm, deeply devoted man who spent his later years showing up at horror conventions purely out of love for his fans. He married Susan L. Oberg in 2007 and remained utterly devoted to her until the very end. Sid Haig passed away on September 21, 2019, at the age of 80. Number 10, and we have Red West as Pete Williams. Before a single frame of The Fall Guy was ever shot, Red West had already lived one of the most extraordinary lives connected to anyone in this cast. He was a founding member of the Memphis Mafia, Elvis Presley's legendary inner circle, a trusted friend and confidant to the king of rock and roll for decades. His 4 episodes across the show between 1982 and 1986 were just one small chapter in a career spent orbiting genuine American legend. In his personal life, he married Pat Boyd, Elvis's former personal secretary, in 1961, and the two remained together for 56 years and had 2 sons, a partnership as solid and loyal as the man himself. The controversy that followed him came from 1977, when he co-authored Elvis, What Happened?, a tell-all that exposed Elvis's drug abuse and landed just weeks before Elvis died, dividing fans who saw it as betrayal. Red West passed away on July 18, 2017, at the age of 81. Number 11, we have Robert Donner as Edmund Trench. Character actors are the backbone of any great television era, and Robert Donner was one of the best the 1980s had to offer. Across 5 episodes of The Fall Guy between 1983 and 1986, he brought the same eccentric, oddball energy that had already made him a fan favorite as Exodore in Mork and Mindy, the kind of performer who could walk into a scene and immediately shift its entire atmosphere without breaking a sweat. He was 50 years old during his first Fall Guy appearance, carrying decades of experience into every frame. In his personal life, he was married to Maria Dolores Rivero Torres from 1969 until their divorce in 1980, a chapter he kept almost entirely away from public discussion in the years that followed. Robert Donner passed away on June 8, 2006, at the age of 75, quietly, without fanfare, exactly the way he seemed to prefer living. Number 12, we have Dick Durock as Stewart. On a show entirely built around stuntmen, Dick Durock was perhaps the most authentically qualified person on the entire set. A prolific Hollywood stuntman long before he ever stepped in front of a camera as an actor, he appeared across 5 episodes of The Fall Guy between 1982 and 1986, with the kind of physical authority that only comes from years of actually doing the dangerous work. He was 44 years old during his first appearance, and the role that would eventually define his legacy was still ahead of him, playing Swamp Thing across both films and the 1990s television series in a performance that earned him a devoted cult following entirely separate from his stunt career. He was married to Jane Durock and remained with her until his death. Dick Durock passed away on September 17, 2009, at the age of 72. A man who spent his entire career making other people's impossible moments look real. Number 13, we have Heather Thomas as Jodie Banks. Jodie Banks was the poster girl of The Fall Guy. Literally. Heather Thomas's image became one of the defining pinups of early 1980s television, and across all 112 episodes, she brought a genuine screen presence that went far beyond the way the camera loved her. She was 24 years old when the show began, and now 68 years old in 2026. Behind the scenes, those years were far darker than anything appearing on screen. During the show's run, she battled a serious cocaine addiction that eventually led her to rehab in 1986, the same year the series ended. That same September, her life changed permanently when she was struck by a car while crossing a street in Los Angeles, leaving her with significant injuries to both legs that took years to recover from. Her first marriage to Alan Rosenthal, a founder of Cocaine Anonymous, lasted only from 1985 to 1986. Since 1992, she has been married to entertainment attorney Skip Brittenham, a far steadier chapter in a life that had seen more than its share of turbulence. She retired from acting in 1998, driven out not by lack of opportunity, but by the sheer volume of stalkers that her fame had attracted, a deeply unsettling end to what should have been a triumphant career.